What's up, guys? Back here with another video, and today I am literally pissed because the car that you see in front of me, and as the title that you see is, this is the free car from hell. Now let's flip the camera back this way so we can sit down and have a little talk about this. So why am I sitting here? Why is this video titled The Free Car from Hell? Well, because this thing has literally caused me nothing but a year's worth of grief, even though this is the second car that has been gifted to me. And so we're going to talk about it, go through everything that's been done to it, show you what needs to be done, and we'll go from there. So we'll start from the beginning. This was the second car that was given to me. And I'm not a spiteful or mean person, so no names are going to be named in this. So we're just going to refer to the person who gifted it to me. And that's what this was. Everything was paid for. Repairs, shipping, parts. But it sits here, and I still can't fucking drive the thing. And you're probably wondering, well, how many miles did you drive on it, Jess? 17,000 miles in only 2 years. 2 years. And this car has needed more work than what it's worth. Thousands of dollars have been spent on it. For what? So we're going to talk about that today. And the intent of the person who gave me the car was to be able to use this vehicle to find gainful employment. That's not an option. I couldn't even get to my doctor's appointments. So let's go from the very beginning on this car. It was gifted to me after the first car was I didn't get into that. That was a disaster. But this car was gifted, shipping paid, car was paid from New Jersey right off the bat. According to the Carfax that was provided to me, it had the exhaust redone because it had like an aftermarket exhaust on it. Had the serpentine belt replaced, the brake fluid flushed, the pads done. It looks like it has new struts. And then, what else did he do to it? He told me coil packs. And then the top, apparently the regulators were done. And an alignment was performed. So some of these things were provided by Carfax. Now, where did this car come from? I'm not going to complain. I'm not even going to talk about, the windows and all of this. I'll talk about it briefly, but it's a free car. It's a completely free car. So how is this thing causing me so much grief when it's in completely free? So we'll talk about that. This car originally, it only has 91,000 original miles. It's got a clean title. There's no liens. It's not been stolen or anything like that. Everything was pretty up front and forward. However, one of the big red flags that I saw, but once again, I'm not going to complain because this was a completely free car, was that in only 91,000 miles, it is a 25-year-old car, this car had changed hands 8 times, not including from the previous owner to me, 8 times. This car had originally come from the Rowing, I can even see that? There we go. The Rowing Company. This is an auction house. And a lot of times when a car goes to auction, it means like the dealer couldn't sell it on their lot. And clearly in the Carfax, this car had changed hands like 7 or 8 times. And that's what happens. Somebody will trade in a car to a dealer. They'll get a new car because their old car has too many problems. The dealer will look at it. They'll have their mechanics look at it and say, nope, it's not. There's no profit to be made here. So they'll cut their losses and sell it to an auction house. So that's what happened. So the guy that gave it to me put probably close to $1,000 of work on it just out the gate. So by the time I got the car, like I said, it only had 91,000 miles. And everything was transparent on it. He did the videos and everything. And it was taken to a reputable shop in Jersey. I don't know if they looked at it because I got no paperwork. I know the oil was changed on top of that, and then he did the air filter. Once again, not big deal. So I get the car, and not even within a week of having it, I get a check engine light, catalytic converter performance code. Right here. I'll let the camera adjust that. And as you can see, 91,800 miles. So like 1 or 2 weeks of driving the car, I get a check engine light. And the guy's telling me, hey, how's the car running, Jess? I'm like, check engine light's coming on. So the little red car right here, back here, I was referred to a guy in Mesa. His name is AJ. He came highly recommended by 4 different people on the Chrysler Dodge page. He's got no red flags. He's an ASC certified mechanic, going back all the way to 1994. So as old as this car, he's been working on vehicles. So he gets it, looks at it, and says, you need the following. Your catalytic converter's bad. You need a water pump. The water pump is failing. Your upper and lower radiator hoses need to be replaced. Your coolant needs to be flushed. What else did he say? The oil pressure switch was leaking. And then on top of that, I had the check engine light, but the doors that were apparently replaced, the regulators were failing. The window didn't want to, it was like sticking, going up and down. So he recommended replacing the driver's side window regulator. So we get in his shop. Guy that gives me a car pays for the repair. And I'm gonna say this. Like I said, this was given to me to help me get to where I needed to be work. And most people, like, I'm more fortunate than most, because I am somewhat mechanically inclined. I've done a lot of work to this car. I can do some above engine repairs, like the alternator belts, oil, coolant. I can take a tire off, put a tire on. I've even gone to the biggest thing I've done to a vehicle so far is a fuel pump, which we'll get into. But if this was given to a single mom with 2 children struggling, and she needed transportation, this car would not be it for her. And that's the point I want to make, And despite my efforts to even fix some of these things with the help of a person who gave me the car, it's just been one disappointment after another. But AJ rolls out, those are the essential repairs. He says, these are the things you've got to have done. It came out to about $1,700. It was probably closer to $1,900 because the guy in Jersey provided the parts. So I had to jockey him. The regulators came to my house, and I had to go all the way out to Mesa and do it. So when that was done, and I'll give you the invoice here. And note, this was in February, so that check engine light came on in February. The car was in the shop for 12 days. It came out to $1,718.63. So we can get that. There we go. And so when that was done, AJ said, well, you need some other things that need to be addressed. Not right away, but needed to be addressed. The brake fluid needed to be flushed. And I agree with him. I looked at it. It was dirty. The transmission fluid, he said, you've got a leaking output shaft seal that's leaking transmission fluid. And I'm fairly certain that he was correct about that. At that time, there was no fluid underneath the ground. But there is now, which we'll get into a little bit later. But he said your output shaft seal needed to be replaced. You needed a filter and transmission fluid change. He said the rear differential needed to be done, along with the gasket, and power steering, which I have recently flushed out the power steering myself. I just did the poor man's way by siphoning out the reservoir. But anyways, that was another $900. My guy declined to do it. So got the car back. Shortly after that, maybe a little over a month, I got another check engine light. And this was at, and we'll zoom up here, it's a P0446 code. It's called a, what the hell is it called? It's a vent circuit control. It's evaporative vent system performance code. And so the most likely cause of that is the vent valve, which is located, later in this video, I'm going to show you guys what is involved with that. But it's most likely the little vent valve on the top of the fuel tank. However, I already tried, since I'm somewhat mechanically inclined, I tried to do some of those repairs myself. I did the purge valve and the gas cap, the two most likely culprits. Also did the PCV valve on my own, just as a routine maintenance thing to, prevent any burning oil. So we did those. Then during all of this, so this was, God, when was this? In like April? Right around this same time, yeah, April 28th. Right around this same time, right before I got sick, the alternator was taking a shit because I'd have times where the car didn't want to start, and the alternator was acting funny. Also, I have, like I said, I have videos on YouTube. The belt was slipping off of the little tensioner. So on top of having all of the other stuff done, the catalytic converter, water pump, all of that, and we'll go back, catalytic converter 2 on this car had already been replaced. Because I went to sell it, try to recoup some of the money, but they said, oh no, this is an aftermarket cat, we're going to give you $10 for it. So it's already been replaced twice. Whether it was stolen at one point, I don't know. But anyway, so alternator was bad, belt tensioner was bad. Had a single mother taken this car to a shop and had that done, it would have cost $700 to $800. But I did it on my own. I did get help from the guy who gave me the car once again, and I did the work myself. However, we still got the check engine light on. During this time as well, AJ recommended replacing the upper and lower rad hoses. Why he didn't recommend replacing this hose, I don't know, but I basically had a bad heater. Try to show you what's left of it, but I had a bad heater hose. So here's the hose. You can see right here how it's like paper thin. So when I first got the car, I noticed that. But why AJ didn't recommend replacing it, I don't know. It held up until maybe 6 or 7 months ago. And the thing with that part is basically what it is it's a hose that actually connects to that belt tensioner that I replaced along with the alternator. So it's a hose, so it's a rubber hose with a coupling. It goes into the belt tensioner. There's probably maybe half a foot or a foot of hose. Then it connects to a metal tubing. Then it goes to another hose that runs into the heater core to the back of the car. It's on a bracket with a lower hose, so there's two hoses that go into the heater core. It's a big hose. However, GM doesn't make the part anymore. If they still did, it would be like $200 to get. But we'll get into that. That was going on around the same time. So when I was given the car, the one thing that he did tell me that he noticed was that the float on a gas gauge was off. Well, okay, this car is a 20-year-old, 25-year-old vehicle. You're not going to have gauges that are precise. And I assume maybe it was the float. But unbeknownst to me and unbeknownst to him, that fuel pump was failing, and I could hear humming noises coming from it. And I assumed that maybe it had something to do with that P0446 code. So you look at the little the Sundance here, and it is kind of a wreck. So I did the fuel pump on this car, and the sending unit is a separate piece. So you've got the fuel pump that goes in one part of the, there's one insert in the gas tank for the pump. There's another insert for the sending unit. Sending unit's kind of like a float. It's a level. When you put more gas in, that level goes up. When there's less gas, that level goes down, and that sends that signal to the gauge, telling you what your level is on a fuel tank. So I'm driving a car. This was back in February, right around I was having my surgery and stuff. The thing dies in the middle of the intersection. I can't get it to start. I've got to have it towed not once but twice. I know it's the fuel pump, so the guy sends me to fuel pump, and I get it. And so this pump is actually it's unlike this. It's the sending unit and a pump are two different pieces. The one on this car is all one piece. So the new pump came with a float. It has the float on the pump. So as soon as I put the pump back in, the gas gauge started to work normally. It wouldn't, I knew I'd be on a quarter of tank of gas before, and the float would say almost full. That wasn't right. But now it's working correctly. So this whole time, that fuel pump was slowly failing. But even though he had it taken to a shop, whether or not he had anything looked at it or not, the only way that the mechanic would be able to know if that pump was failing or not is if he put a pressure gauge up against the fuel rail. But that whole time, there was something going on with that pump back there. And like I said, most people couldn't afford to do that repair. Even though he provided me the parts, if that car went to a shop, you have to drop the tank. Well, not even drop the tank, you have to drop the rear suspension to drop the tank because the fuel pump's up there. However, there's a shortcut around that. You cut a hole, what's called the trap door, and you can access the fuel pump from inside the trunk. So that's what I ended up doing. I had nothing to lose at this point. So I did that. And so we had that going on. So we have multiple things going on. And then on top of that, so remember that output shaft seal that I was telling you about that AJ recommended replacing, and the guy that gave me the car didn't, and said, declined to do? Well, it is in fact leaking, and I'm fairly certain that it is transmission fluid. So, and the transmission fluid has gotten so bad that now it has caused me problems with my HOA. I don't want to put my address up there, but it has caused me problems. I just got to zoom up here with the HOA. There we go. They have issued me violations for an oil slick in the front yard. And so, now I have to deal with that, and I can't get the stains up. So, with that being said, I'm going to briefly show you the oil stain here. I'm going to move the camera because it's gotten considerably larger. So, as you can see, it's a pretty great big puddle underneath the car. I've cleaned it up. So let's set the camera back down here and we'll continue on with our little chat here. And then towards the end of this video, we're going to actually show you everything with the car. So, the oil leak, or the leak from the transmission fluid. Like I said, I am not going to complain about the cosmetic issues with this car. It was a free car after all. However, the only thing I'm going to bring up is the doors and the windows, because that's a safety issue. So, like I said, driver's side door, the regulator was bad. AJ recommended replacing the regulator. However, the guy that gave me the car said just weld the pulley in place. Went against AJ's recommendations. Welded the pulley in place. The driver's side window has stopped working. Now you look at the passenger side. Passenger side window doesn't want to come up. There's no response from the gauge. In addition to that, the door latch on the driver's side door has stopped working. So now I had to take the glass out so I could rig a bungee cord, and you'll see that in their video, my sophisticated door locking mechanism. So I had to take the latch out to put a bungee cord in to temporarily fix it, right? Now, getting a new latch, they don't sell them at AutoZone. So what did I have to do? I went down to a junkyard. I went down to Pull and Save off of 27th Avenue in Buckeye, and I got a used door latch. Put it in. It worked for about 2 weeks. Then it stopped. So I gave up on that. So we've just got the bungee cord. So that's going on. We got the leak. Then on top of that, this car did have a new battery. It was a brand new battery. We'll take a look at that battery real quick. It's not new now, but when I got the car, it was only like maybe less than a year old. This is the new battery. You can see it's got a date of 4/21 on there. It's a Champion 75-650 CH category. It's got a 30-month warranty on it. By the time the battery died, the warranty went out on it. Remember, folks, this car, I tell you guys the problems with it, and you're probably wondering, dude, how many miles did you go on it? Did you do burnouts? Did you drive the hell out of this thing? No. I drove it 17,000 miles in 2.5 years. The first year, I drove it more because I had more resources then. Then I got sick, and I didn't have the ability to drive. I didn't have gas. I didn't have, I was at the mercy of my cousin when I needed things like gas and assistance with transportation. So there was something going on with the battery. So GM has back end posts. So go back to the battery. As you can see, there are back end posts. They're not ones like your typical car where you attach the cables to the top. GM ones have their connections here. So there's a positive and a negative, right? So periodically, when I drive the car, I go to the store, start up, everything's good. Come back from the store, then it don't want to start. Well, why was that? Well, there was something going on with this little rubber insulator, and as you can see, the inside's broke on it. So when I put it down on this battery, this thing would move. It was loose, and it should not move with your hand. So when the car is running and everything, it's not getting a good connection. It's not properly charging the battery. So that was another thing the guy that gave me the car helped me out with. I had to go on the fly, go down all the way across town on the bus. You're not allowed to take batteries on the city bus because this is considered a hazardous material. It's got sulfuric acid or some kind of acid inside. You can't bring this on the bus. So I go out, I get a piece of luggage at Goodwill to hide the battery in. I go all the way out to Dunlap and bring it out. Now, I don't know if this is the correct battery in here. We're going to do a walkthrough of the car, but I don't know if it's the correct battery or not. But when I put the new battery in, the alternator is running really hard with this battery. So look at, I'll give you the specs for the battery. But anyways, as soon as I remove this terminal, I just put the metal on metal, and now you've got a secure connection. But that was another thing going on. So during that time too, eventually the heater hose collapsed. So you got the heater hose that has fallen apart. It's sprung a leak. So every time I drive the car in the warmer weather, it would spring the leak, and that's when it got to a point. We got to a point with the car where it's like I can't drive the thing anymore. So because what had happened was I was driving. I was in a supermarket at Fry's making. I'd left. I was making a turn. The fucking car dies in the parking lot, and I'm not able to. It doesn't start. So once again, I did the jiggle thing with the battery terminal. Started up. Drove it home. So I was going home. Now I'm getting the check gauges light on. Car's overheating. So now I've got to pull over and put antifreeze in it, and I got it home. Fortunately, like I said, most people are not mechanically inclined. So when I put the new hose in, I got the kit online. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to do it. Fortunately, I was able to put the new hose in. It was pretty straightforward. And let's see if we can get the kit here. I don't know if I've got it. But basically, it's pretty straightforward. Unlike your typical clips, you've got a screw that mounts into the side. This is what goes into the tensioner. You clip the hose on and then it goes down. Fortunately, I only needed that one little, it came with one little bit of hose like that. So I was able just to splice the two hoses with the nipple on there. Once again, when we get to the end of this video, I will show you in detail, but this is the special adapter. There's actually a screw that goes on to the tensioner secure just in place. It was about 40 bucks, and that seems to have solved the problem. However, most recent thing, it's just with this car, like I said, 17,000 miles, less than 2 years, lightly driven. It's just one thing after another. And so the last and final thing that we have going on is, so just yesterday, well, about couple months ago, got a slow leak in the rear driver's side tire. I pull over, and so I looked at these tires, and they had a date stamp, and I'll try to pull it up here, but we'll get a look at it. All tires have the date stamp on them. It's required by law, anything made past the year 2000. So these tires have a date stamp of the 27th week of 2017. So they're about 6 or 7 years old. So they're basically at the end of their life. And these tires are not cheap to replace. They're probably over $100 a piece without any type of warranty or anything. And I tried to get them at Walmart. You can't get anything at Walmart. So the rear tire went out, and this is when I was having to go to the doctor because I got bit by a neighbor's dog. But anyways, I had to go to the doctor urgently for that. And so noticed the driver's side tire was really low. Okay, no big deal. I'll check it, maybe put air in. I said no, there are little slits and cracks in the side of the sidewall. So I had to change it out, put the donut on. Took it up to discount. It's no big deal. You know, if you get a nail or something in your tire, it's really no big deal. You can actually take a tire up to discount, even if you didn't even get it from them. And they'll fix it for free as long as it's safe to do so. So I took it up there, and discount says we can't fix this because you've got dry rot on the sidewall. So I ended up having to put the tire on the vehicle. And so that was like another $100. And so now I got 4 tires on the car, and I'm hoping that one tire was just good enough. So yesterday I'm driving a car, and the car seems like it's wanting to pull to one side as I'm headed home. And then I hear this almost like I'm having some kind of a flat tire, right? And you're gonna see this. It's gonna look like something out of fucking Cops. This is probably by far the worst tire I've seen. I've had flats before, but this one's bad. So let's take a look here, folks. This tire literally disintegrated. It blew out, as you can see. I mean, look at that. And then try not to. And it separated on both sides. So you look on the inside here, it literally disintegrated. And typically with a blowout, you have to be very careful. You know, you have a blowout, you can cause an accident, you can get injured or killed, you know, you can lose control of your vehicle. Thank God that fucking tire did what it did and it didn't go pop. I think it was just so worn out. But I'm concerned because there's some wear on the outer edge of the tire. I checked the other tire, there's wear on the inner edge. So, like I said, because of the hose and the battery, I hadn't driven the car in a while. But when I got the new battery put in, I went up, I got air in all 4 tires, because obviously you don't want to underinflate tires and drive them. So, put air in all the tires, changed the oil, put some cleaner in the fuel tank, gassed it up. We also put stop leak in the power steering because I'm not 100% sure. It's either trans or power steering fluid. I'm pretty sure it's trans based on where it is because you can see it on the oil pan on the bottom of the car. But so we did that. And so yeah, now it probably needs another 3 tires. They're bad. I don't know if there's something going on with the suspension. But now let's do the one last thing before we do the walkthrough is now what I've noticed, and I don't know if it has something to do with this battery or not, but I'm gonna show you guys and you'll be able to listen to it. But ever since that new battery is in, when I start this car up, and we're gonna do it here because it's cold. It makes this, when I turn the key, it starts up, it goes like, it's never done that before. But that battery's kind of been making the alternator work a little wonky. So I don't know if it's something to do with the power steering or if there's something else going on, but it's just, you know, this is not just like a maintenance thing. This is, you know, boom, 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 boom. But with that being said, let's show you guys everything with the car here. I'm going to open up the hood and we'll just do a quick walkthrough of everything that's been done to this vehicle. How much money has been invested. So you'll look, obviously you've got the new battery here. This one is a 650, 758 DVT 650 category. I think this one's a 750. Yeah, 650. So, yeah, I'm not sure on the battery. Well, we'll have the car listen, but it's got a new battery. See if I can get it over here. It's hard to angle, but if you look at my finger, there's the positive terminal. I took the rubber insulator off to prevent that loose coupling. And then this is the new hose. This is the new heater hose. We've got the adapter here. It's hard to see, but if you follow my finger, there's the new hose. This is the one that was bad. We replaced the alternator, PCV valve, the serpentine belt, and then the tensioner, which is underneath it, the oil pressure switch, so if you just follow my finger, and then the water pump, which is right here where that finger is. Supposedly has new struts. It looks like it's had the struts done. I can tell by looking at the screws that the struts look good on there. Air filter. He said the coil packs were done. And then so this, follow my finger, this is the purge valve. This was what I replaced, hoping that would fix the check engine light. Now the brake fluid, you look at the master cylinder, it is pretty dirty. I don't think the place that my guy had it done at actually changed it. So then we'll do a walk around here of the car. So there's the tire. There's inside wear on this tire as well. So this is the window that needs to be replaced. The whole door, because the regulator stopped working. And then we're gonna open this, trying carefully not to drop the camera here. And this is my very sophisticated door latch, because the latch that I installed from a junkyard stopped working. And the other driver's side window does not work as well. Ooh, and you know what? I forgot the keys, which we're gonna have to get here. But anyway, so that's done. So that needs to be done. We got the rear tire on here. That was done. Replace the gas cap. And I'm not even, like I said, I'm not going to complain about the cosmetic features, but when I say this car is literally falling apart, it is. The taillight covers, which aren't a big deal, have fallen off. You know, like basically these little retainers here. And then there's the other tire. And I don't know if this is something to be concerned about, but it almost looks like the car is off level. So we're gonna grab the keys for the car here. With that being said, we're gonna grab the car keys wherever the heck I left them. I don't know where they're at. But we'll grab the car keys. We'll start the car up because I want you guys to hear the noise. But like I said, so I've had other people look at the car. I've had other people talk about it. I have a close friend of mine from high school we're trying to work out having somebody look at this. And my friend from high school, his name is Wesley, and if you watch a previous video, he's filming and he's looked at the car and he said, I can't, I didn't realize it was that bad. And so he told me, and this is his logic, he says, why would the guy send you the car knowing it would just break down and have all these problems? And that's my understanding. I'm like, why spend all this money and set somebody up for failure, And it's not just maintenance. It's one thing after another. And it's not like I've not been driving this car 5 days a week, 100 miles a day. I've been driving it as little as possible because of these issues. So, there's just no logic. And there's been more money spent on it than what it's worth. So, we're going to show you too. You won't be able to see much here, but I'll explain to you the fuel pump and what the trap door is. So, we'll open up the trunk of the car here. Like I said, when it comes to the windows and doors, I don't personally care. It was a free car. But, you got to worry. Somebody could get into your car, break into it. Also water and other things getting into it. So basically, okay, so your trap door is right here. So I don't think you'll be able to see it very well. So, but basically, underneath here, where my finger is, back there, there's a vent valve on top of the fuel tank. You have to literally cut more of the metal off, open an even bigger panel, and there's a box, probably 1 foot, I don't know how big it is. It's a pretty big, it's like a vapor canister. It's either the canister, which is about a 2 foot long box that, filters out all of the vapors and pollutants that go, that's what the emission system's for. It's to prevent pollutants from getting into the atmosphere. Well, that canister holds them. So if that canister's bad or any component in there is bad, it's going to trigger a code. It's going to not allow the emission system to work properly. But we don't know what's wrong with it until he looks at it. But with that being said, I want to give this car a rip. I want you guys to hear it. Hear the noise that this thing makes. I don't know if it's a failing power steering pump or if it has something to do with the battery, but we'll start it up. It may or may not sound hard, or that whining, that ring noise, but we'll do that for you real quick. Let it run for just a few seconds. You can definitely hear that. You heard that. Look at that alternator right there. It's just jumping. But I don't know what that noise is. Everything else sounds good. There's no knocking, there's no ticking. The engine sound. It's just all these other little things. So we'll set this down. We don't need to run this car. But clearly you could hear that. And it will only do it the one time, and then I'll drive it to the store and everything else will be fine with it. But that's another thing. I don't know if it's a failing power steering. I don't know if it's the battery, because that one was not, when you look it up on their advanced auto, that's where it came from. That battery is not under the 2000 Chevy Camaro. I don't know where he got it. He got it at advanced auto, but I don't know if it's the right one or not. But so then we go back to the argument, and he's brought it up. He says, well, you should just junk the car. You should just junk the car, sell it. Well, what's this thing really worth in the condition that it is? It's needing, more work than what it's worth. It needs tires. It's got a check engine light on. I sell the car, I'll be lucky if I get under $2,000 for it. I'll be lucky. I mean, it doesn't even have windows. What am I going to do about getting another vehicle? It's just not possible. It's just not possible. Given what's going on in the market right now, you have car prices going up because EVs are becoming more prevalent. The government is requiring more technology in their vehicles, like backup cameras, all these sensors. You know, they're pushing increased fuel economy, which is an added cost to automakers. Now, if anybody, there's a guy named Scotty Kilmer, and he does really good, how-to videos on how to fix your car and things like that. But he also talks about these things. Definitely check him out for that. But costs of newer cars are going up, so used cars are becoming more expensive as well. But at the same time, what am I going to get? I can't turn this car into a reliable car. The reality is you need something that, somewhat reliable. You need 5 or 10 grand just to get something that's going to last you like 10 or 15 years. And it's just not possible to go around, sell this car, and then given the situation that I'm in, I can't work myself out of this. So this car has literally caused me more grief than what it's worth. I don't know why it was given to me. My friend Wesley has said the same thing, and he actually has a car. He may be getting a car, but you know what he said? He doesn't want to do this to me. He wants to know absolutely sure if he's getting the car, if there are any problems with the car. He doesn't want to do the same thing that the guy in Jersey has done to me. He doesn't want to make any false promises. So, and it's in probate anyways. He doesn't know if there's a title for the car or anything. So, he's not making any promises, and he doesn't want to give me something knowing it's just going to be junk. He doesn't know anything about it yet. So, yeah, this car has literally been more grief. And the only other alternatives are to borrow my life away, take out an equity loan on my home for 30% of the house for a car that they won't even give me a title for. That's the only other option. You take out an equity loan for 30% equity in the house, which is 3 times what the car is worth. You don't get the title, and then you got to pay them back for the car. That's robbery. What other options are there? But with that being said, this is the car from hell. And I'm at disbelief, disappointment, disbelief. I mean, and like I said, I've done more to this car than most people could. Cutting a hole in the bag for a fuel pump, replacing sensors, just imagine if this was given to somebody where there are no other alternative but to take it to a shop. And if I had to pay for these repairs out of my own pocket, I'd never be able to get back to work. I'd never be able to pay my bills. What do you do? So at this point with this car, we are trying to get Levi involved. He has a mobile mechanic business with his stepdad. We're trying to get somebody to look at it. He has told me that they'll do a diag for free. There's no driving involved. Well, now I can't get the car out to him. So now I'm going to have to pay to have his dad look at it. So that's the update for now. We're trying to get a hold of him to set something up for Dad just to see if this thing is fucked or not. But, you guys can be the judge of that, and say whatever the hell you want. I wouldn't do this to somebody. I wouldn't spend all this money and invest in somebody, which is what this guy was trying to do. He was trying to invest in me, give me a leg up, and he even said, oh, you'd be cool driving a Camaro, doing Uber Eats, delivering pizza. I'm like, I can't deliver pizza in this thing. I don't need. Look at the tires. Look at the fucking tires, and I've only put 17,000 miles on it. So what are you supposed to do? But that's the update for now. This is the car, the free car from hell, and that's why I'm telling you guys. How does a free car cause so much grief? Well, this is why.